Okay, there we go. The Chicago Bears get embarrassed. Y'all see the thumbnail. Y'all see the title. They get embarrassed in the desert in Arizona. What was the ending score? I didn't put the ending score in the thumbnail this week because I didn't think it mattered. It was
29
so bad.
to 9.
29-9. We get blown out. We get just demolished. Um, I'm your host, Mark Robb. Welcome to the Black Bear Podcast. I got my co-host with me, Devin. You see his handle. You can follow him there as well. Another co-host, Chef Wes, will be with us while we're live. But look, tough loss, tough loss. This will have huge season impact on this team. But we'll break down the entire loss and a lot more right after this. After last week, you would think it can't get any worse. And I listened to Kevin Byard's podcast. He has a podcast that he does. A lot of the players nowadays got podcasts. But Kevin Byard, I watched his after the loss last week, the Hail Mary loss. And he said out his mouth, I would have rather gotten blown out than losing the way we lost. And I kind of agree with him, but you be careful what you wish for
I was gonna
because
say now he's experienced both.
he experienced both literally in back to back. Devin, look, we're gonna jump right into this. It's gonna be a shorter show today or tonight. Got some things planned, gotta handle some business later today. But we're gonna jump right into it. Let's talk about these initial thoughts from the game. And I'll go first. The Chicago Bears absolutely did this to themselves. We talked about it all week, Devin. There was too much chatter. There was too much going on. And Jalen Johnson said it himself, the 24-hour rule. He didn't like that. You know, where you lose the game, you got 24 hours to sulk about it or cheer or, get excited about it. And then you move on to the next opponent. Jalen Johnson said, nah, I think that's overrated. This loss, he was speaking on the Washington loss. He said it's going to take at least 36. He needed at least 36 hours. It seemed like they took, I don't know what it was, what's 5 days of.
I was gonna say you were going into this, and I'm like, it's gonna be great if he knows exactly how many hours since the last game. But
I should have had that plan, but like, look, we don't script nothing here. It's all off the top of the head. We say what we mean, and we mean what we say. I don't know what 24 times 5 is off the top of my head, but it seemed like it took that long. That's how long it took. I don't care what nobody says. I'm chalking this loss up to DJ Moore, Jalen Johnson, and everybody in that building focusing on the Hail Mary loss instead of moving on. It was such a bad loss. You would think the fans, of course, not the media. The media gets paid to do this. You know what I mean? They get paid to talk about this shit constantly. But you would think the fans in the team, especially the team, would just forget about that. You know what I mean? If that's not who you are, if that's not who you are as a team, or that's not
then you
who you
go out
are,
and prove it.
exactly. If that's not who you are as a player, then you just shut it out. It was a bad game. It was a bad ending, I should say. It was a bad game, but it was a bad ending, and they let it linger. They let it linger, and that one loss last week, and that's what I'm chalking this up to. That one loss last week turned into two, and all I heard was we can't let it turn into two, and that's what they did. Not just the Bears, but the media continued. They pressed on that Hail Mary, that one play, all fucking week. And you see what happens if you follow me on Twitter, the Black Bear Pod. I talked about it all week. Leave it alone. Stop talking about it. Move past it. That is trauma. It's like Bears fans love trauma. Like they get off by keep replaying. I couldn't even watch. I didn't watch the play. I didn't watch the Hail Mary again. You know what I mean? I couldn't watch it again. But it seems
The
all I
only
saw was
time I watched it
clips.
was when I was watching the clip of Tyreek Stevenson off on the side, drawing with some fans or whatever. Now,
Right.
his comment was that he was like talking like with Bear fans. I don't know if I believe that. I don't know if it was confirmed like that's what was happening. It doesn't really matter. It was his mind, his focus was not on the play.
Right.
So
And look, and he was throwing his hands up, doing stuff like that, like trying to get the crowd into it. Like you said, it doesn't matter whether you was talking shit or whether you were. And I'm just trying to share this live around so you can get people in here. Whether you were
I mean,
talking shit
I
or whether
get
you
it.
were trying to get your Bears fans in, it was a big win. If we pulled that out last week, you let that fucking loss, the Chicago, and I'm not even talking about the media and the fans right now. DJ Moore, you said too much in the media. Jalen Johnson, you said too much. All of the players said it entirely too much. And it was Thursday, and they were still doing interviews talking about that goddamn game. That is unacceptable. They
Yeah,
walked out there and they got their
you're
ass
still
kicked.
when you're still thinking about your last game on Thursday and your next game is like 2-3 days from now, like come on. You you need to stop focusing on that game and focus on what you need. Like one of the things that DJ Moore had made a comment about earlier in the week
Right.
about saying, well, now I guess we'll see who we really are when
Mm-hmm.
we face a loss like this.
Yep.
Like, are we able to, like, that's what I was looking for coming into this game. Are they able to, like, put the bad win or bad loss behind them and just get themselves focused for this next game?
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't seem like it.
Not at
And
all.
now, unfortunately, we have the same exact problem of going to the next game. Now we have to dig our heels in, and I can't remember correctly, but is next week a home game?
Next week against New England is a home game.
Okay.
So some of the comments coming in, they're starting to roll in, and Alex, I want to address this one real quick. He said hangover from last week. The media wouldn't leave last week alone. They love to create controversy when it's not needed. Look, remember 2018, Matt Nagy's first season. We ultimately went 12-4. But that opening game was against Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. We started 24 or 23-3. We were up 23-3 or 24-3. I can't remember. Um Aaron Rodgers got hurt in that game. He went to the locker room. We were dominating. He came back at halftime. They ended up winning 24-23, 24-20, something like that. They won by 1 point, but we were up like 23-3. And they ended up beating us 24-23. I was so pissed, right? But my brother told me, look, if you believe that this team is as good as as you say, I talk highly of my team. He told me if you think this team is as good as you say they are, that loss to Green Bay isn't going to mean a thing. Like I said, we ultimately went 12-4, right? That season. I can't say the same. I tried to say the same for this situation against Washington last week. They didn't overcome that. They just didn't. They didn't wash that loss away. That loss is probably gonna haunt them for another 2 weeks. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm not saying we're gonna lose to New England. Not saying that at all. But that loss, that Washington loss, is still here. It's still here, and obviously we will talk more about what happened today. But in my initial thoughts, that Washington loss was hovering over that stadium tonight for the Chicago Bears.
I my biggest concern right now is the fact that like so last year my concern with Flus all year was he wasn't making any adjustments at halftime.
Mm-hmm.
If things weren't working, he would keep going with them, like expecting things to change. And my biggest fear is the fact that that's his that's his coaching style in everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's going to continue, like he's going to go into next week the same way that he went into this week.
I agree. I think so too.
And
I
he's not,
definitely think
my
so.
my fear is that he's not going to change how things were handled, because things were not handled well. There were teams and players of the team that were not focused on this game. And you
Nope.
could see it from the start out there. Like, yeah, our defense went out there, got a 3-and-out, but our offense went out and it looked slightly better than last week coming out. But at the end of the day, we still weren't able to put any points up on the board the first drive. And things just kind of got worse.
Yep.
The defense got sloppy. They couldn't. I mean, we've had trouble stopping the run, and it has been a problem for us all year. Okay, once Arizona figured out that we could not stop their run, they kept on doing it.
Yep. They kept doing it, and they weren't scared. They didn't get bored. You know what I mean? Some coaches get bored with the run when it's working, so they start getting cute and trying to drop. They didn't. They didn't. They stuck with it. They like, look, if it
Well,
ain't broke, don't fix
because
it.
so I was watching last night. I was watching the Iowa Wisconsin game, and Iowa, once they realized that all they needed to do was run the ball, and that's pretty much all they do. Like,
Right.
you go into Iowa, you face Iowa, you know they're going to run the ball. Well, that's what they kept doing, and it brought up the thought process in this game as well. They're going to run the ball until we can stop them, and it was very rare for us to stop them. Like, yeah, we got that takeaway early on through the punched out ball with Marvin Harrison Jr., and I was thrilled. Didn't really do a whole lot for us, though.
No, not at
Even
all.
though we were in really good field position with it, it didn't really translate into very much. Like, we didn't even really get into good good coaching or good positioning after that to really get a touchdown or anything.
Um, Alex, I wouldn't say we're abandoning the ship. There are people who are. There are people who abandoned last week. You know what I mean? We are
And
not that.
but see, this didn't do anything to satisfy any of the ones that felt like, okay, let's keep going with it. Like, this game kind of confirmed that everybody that was abandoning ship last week was right.
That's all it did. That's all it did was prove them right. But listen, so we talked about it, Devin. And I'm gonna go towards Flus. We talked about it with all the heat he was taking. You didn't have to blow out the Cardinals, but you had to win this game. I'm not even talking about playoff picture or none of that. You had to win this game for you and your job and just the optics of it. We could have lost a close game. We got our ass kicked. We haven't given up over 21. Before it was like 20, it was over 20 points. But when the Colts put up 21 on us, we couldn't keep saying
It
that.
got changed to 21,
It got
which
changed. Yeah, it got
isn't a difference.
right. But this defense got what they put up 29 points, 30 points on us.
29 on us. And
The Texans put up 19. And we
I
let
mean,
the
I know
Cardinals
the
come in here and
Texans
put
are
up.
struggling right now, but they're still the best team that we faced so far. The Cardinals, I would not say, are better than the Texans. The Texans are just struggling at this moment, but when they
Right.
played us pretty well, and we played them pretty well too. We didn't let them score a whole lot, and we actually fought. It was a rough game to watch, but we fought pretty hard that game, and I did not see any fight in us today at all.
Oh, none. Oh, none whatsoever. And the sickest part about it, and we got to move on to the next segment.
Mm-hmm.
If you're done with your initial thoughts, I'll let you get out what you need to get out. The sickest part about it is the heart and soul of our team got ripped apart tonight. The defense.
Yeah.
That is the heart and soul of this team. We talked about it in the offseason. We talked about it in training camp. We talked about it in the preseason. Regardless of what this offense does, you could criticize them. You could criticize Shane Waldron. You can criticize Caleb, the O-line, whatever. Every Bears fan, including myself, I hung my hat on that defense, and I thought this defense would be able to keep us in contention with any team that we faced. I don't know what that was out there. Montez Sweat, and I hope I'm wrong, but Montez Sweat, I don't think he makes a 29-9 point difference. I don't think he closes that gap that
I
much.
will
That's
say that
20 points. That's 20 points, Devin.
having Montez out along with Kyler and Brisker. Now,
Mm-hmm.
to me, having those are three key players. I mean, the Brisker and Kyler thing we've kind of dealt with, but like we've been complaining for a while about not having really any backups for Sweat or anybody to put on the other side of Sweat. You take
Right.
Sweat out, and we get the defense at the beginning of the year last year, and that defense was not very good. Like that defensive line was not very good, and it was letting teams pick us apart because they had all the time in the world to wait for their receiver to just get a little bit of separation.
Right.
And even with the best cornerbacks in the world out there, you're not going to be able to cover for 10, 15
No
seconds
chance. No chance.
because you have no idea what's going to happen. So, I don't know. Like I feel like Sweat is a much bigger factor than he looks like, even though his
For
stats
sure.
this year have not shown it.
Right.
I feel like he really pressures that quarterback into making mistakes. And it sucks that he was out today because
And
it's really like the thing is you look at okay, we've held teams to within 20, I mean under 21 points. 21 points or under for how many games? 15 games or something like that.
it's something like that.
It
Yep.
was a crazy amount of games. And when you think about it, it's like, okay, well, maybe because I know that Sweat hasn't been like 100% the whole time. Like there's been some games where he's been in and out, some games that he didn't play at the tail end of last year. But the problem is that like with Montez out in those games, we might have been playing an offense that wasn't as good anyways.
Well,
So we
mark
were
my
still able
words.
to do that.
Mark my words, Devin. When the numbers come out, and I'll check Twitter, and I'll be active. We'll both be active. When the numbers come out, I guarantee Arizona blitzed more than we did. I
We
guarantee you
don't
they
we
did.
just don't blitz. And I
And
I hate that we don't.
you have to when you're. I get it. When Montez, we were solid. I'm not saying. Look, the defensive line this year has overachieved, in my opinion. I think they have played way better than I anticipated. But when Montez Sweat goes down, you have to adjust. You have to start sending more pressure. I
Yeah.
guarantee those boys in Arizona blitzed much more than we did tonight.
Well, but like our biggest problem is we don't blitz. But like even before the game, I was watching some of the analysts, they were sitting around and they were saying the best way with Kyler Murray, close his pocket. The best way you can disrupt him and is closing that pocket. But see, the problem was there's no way we blitzed as much as they did because we passed way more than they did. Like
Oh my gosh, way
they
more.
didn't need to pass. They just kept running it right up the middle every single play. And it was giving them 8, 9 yards of play, sometimes 15, 20. It's
Mm-hmm.
like at a certain point, we really can't blitz because they're just running the ball. Like I think they showed a stat at one point that Kyler Murray had thrown like only a handful of passes, and it
He
was
threw
just the
20
first.
passes total. Caleb threw 41. I get it. We're playing from behind, so that's gonna happen. Look, let
But
me
at the
let
same
me plug this
time,
real
it's
quick. Let me plug this real quick. We getting some people in here watching.
okay.
If you're just tuning in, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, the Black Bear Podcast. I'm your host, Mark Robb, and I got my co-host in the building with me, Devin. Look, hit the like button, subscribe, help the channel grow. If you're watching on Facebook, head over to YouTube. Give us a subscribe and a like there. If you're watching on YouTube, appreciate you. And we go live every week, post game shows and then preview shows, pregame shows on Saturday as well. So bear with us as we bare our souls a little bit and break down this game. Devin, you want to keep going on what you were saying? I cut you off, or we could pivot to.
I was just saying that like it's hard to look at the blitz rate and stuff like that because they ran the ball so much,
They
and
did.
you don't blitz on run plays.
But see, you do
And
you if they're gonna
well,
run the ball, then you send extra guys. Just run blitz them. Just run blitz them, which
it was it was
leaves you
not it was not a very good game for us there.
no, it
And
wasn't. I think look,
I kind of felt like towards the end of it, it was struggling just because our offense was not moving as much. And
mhm.
so our defense was playing a lot more. And they were even talking about that, like that we were having to rotate out the entire defensive line to give him some rest. And that's going to be a lot harder when you have players like Montez Sweat out, or when there was a couple plays that Billings was out because I saw him get a little winded or banged up or something. And it's unfortunate that we have those problems that we have to deal with.
And see this comment right here, I disagree with Mr. V. He said, "How were y'all so competitive last year, but struggling so much this year? Did you guys change any schemes?" Look, I think we've been
I don't feel
competitive
like
this year. You know, this is the first game all season that we've been blown out. Like I said earlier in the show, it sucks because the defense let us down today. I mean, I'm not saying the offense didn't let us down, but we knew we already always knew what the offense was going to do. But the defense, our heart and soul, let us down today, and that was the thing. I wouldn't say we're better last year compared to this year. I
I
wouldn't
didn't
go
feel
that
like we were
far.
competitive last year until like the tail end of the season.
For sure.
That begin those beginning games last year, we were getting blown out left and right.
Right.
Like there was a game against the Chiefs where I think we scored 3 points and
Yes.
something like that, or maybe we
It
scored a
was really
touchdown in the
bad.
last like minute or something. But it was not a good game. But like the thing is, getting Sweat did definitely make us better. And with him not here today, I feel like that severely limited what we could do on defense. But
I agree.
that's your job as the head coach to, or
Preach.
I should say the defensive coordinator, which is kind of the role that Eberflus plays.
Yep.
He needed to account for Sweat missing. You can't just call the same plays and expect the same results when you're missing one of your star players.
And let me address this comment, and then we'll move on to our great and not so great. Yes, will struggle to find a great in this game. I thought it was tough last week, but I mean, Devin, I mean, let's try to find a great out of this game.
I have one.
But Alex said Arizona did a great job of moving run fits on the edge, forcing more realignments in the fits, create better opportunities for bigger plays. This is my thing to that. Why is Arizona doing a great job in moving run fits and forcing realignments and doing all of this, but we're not? Why are we continuously getting out coached? Why isn't nobody putting in the chat, even in our wins? Why am I not hearing the Bears did a great job readjusting, realigning, forcing this, forcing that? Why am I not hearing that? I don't hear that. I don't ever hear. And Devin, I've been consistent with this. You know that. You know that. I'm looking for a time where our coach, I'm like, yes, that was great by Flus. He outdid him. I'm looking for him to show up. We look for Keenan Allen to show up. We look for Roman Dunze, Caleb, Shane Waldron, even. But we have to. Our head coach absolutely has to show up for us and get
I
some
don't know.
comments like
With, with
this.
with that part though, for me, it is harder to notice the impact that the play call has on defense, because we were talking about it in the green room, that once the ball gets hiked, that play call doesn't really matter as much. Just get to the ball, like, or stick with your guy or whatever. But
Do
like,
your job. Yep.
once that ball gets past that line of scrimmage, get to the ball, tackle the guy, do whatever. Like, you leave your coverage as soon as that ball gets past the line of scrimmage,
Mm-hmm.
because it's no longer a pass play or whatever. But to me, it's like, well, it's really hard to see, like, if he called up a really, like, if we, like, in that first quarter, their first drive, they went 3 and out, and
Right.
it's hard to be like, okay, what caused the 3 and out? Was it good play calling on our end, or was it good players being in good position to make sure that they didn't get any yards?
So this is my thing. You know your weakness, right? We know our weakness.
Hmm.
Flukes knows our weakness. The players know their weakness. You cannot allow them to run the ball. I think they had, if I'm looking at these numbers right, they had 200 rushing yards.
They had like 148 in the first half.
That is insane to me. That is insane when you know that's your weakness and you're down your best, by far your best defensive lineman. I don't want to stick on this for too long. So let's jump into our next segment though. And that's great and not so great. I'll keep the comments coming. We'll put them up and we'll address them as we go. Great and not so great. This is the first game, and let me find it. This is the first game, Devin, that I actually didn't plan for one. I didn't write one down. I didn't have something in my notes for this segment.
I
So
mean, I had a great that as I was watching the game, I kept telling myself, like, yeah, I'm glad to see that. Now there's a whole bunch of not so great, but I had a great that I was watching and I was really liking. And for me, that great was the play by, I mean, just the way that Roma Dunze was out there playing. He ended with 105 yards today, and he was catching balls that a lot of times just didn't seem like you would have caught in previous weeks. Like, to me, it looks like he's making improvements and taking those like, honestly, to me, it felt like today he was. I mean, DJ is going to be our wide receiver one, no matter what.
mhm.
But it felt like Adunze has possibly moved up past Keenan, because Keenan was just not looking like he was on point today.
In Romans, look, I know people don't want to say it. And much respect to Keenan, Rome is better than Keenan. He's more talented than Keenan
And
at this
see,
point in his
I
career.
feel like the benefits that Keenan has being a veteran is much, like, it is helpful, but I don't know. But like, if you get rid of Keenan, then who's your wide receiver three? Because we haven't put Tyler Scott. I have not seen him once all season,
Well,
and
that'll probably be a reality next year. Keenan probably won't be here next year. So
no. But I mean, it'll be a question that we have, and unless Adunze can really kind of like ramp up to where people are worried about both him and DJ next year, then it'll be pretty like, okay, well, of course you double team DJ and hope that Rome in his second year can't really do as much.
and DJ, in my opinion, DJ hasn't been getting his separation as much anyway. So look, let's keep going with this segment, the great and not so great. Um segment. Did you give your great to
Rome Adunze,
Ramadunze? Yeah. Okay, so give us your not so great from this game then.
my not so great, and it's going to be something that if Wes were here, he would be jumping right onto this part, is the
Mm-hmm.
fact that they did not target Cole Kmet one time all game.
That's a good one.
Cole Kmet, like, in the games that we target Cole Kmet early and often,
Mm-hmm.
we've had success. In the games where we have hardly ever targeted him, the last two games we've lost. And it's like at the end of the day, you hit that big guy that I don't know, he's there. Zero targets today, one target last week, and I just I don't understand why you go from having, I think we were talking about it in the green room, having 10 catches against the Jaguars,
Yep.
two touchdowns, and one of those touchdowns was him like bull rushing through two or three players to
Yep.
like reach out and get that end zone, like break that plane of the end zone. And it's like, and you don't think that that might be beneficial? Like, you don't think, I brought it up while I was watching the game like 5 times. And at least one of those times, the announcers said it right after I did
Mm-hmm. Yep.
because they were saying it all game too.
Mm-hmm.
They were confused why they hadn't seen anything with Cole Kmet either. And they kept highlighting him, expecting that at some point he was going to get a target.
And so to your point, and some people, they'll put it on the quarterback, and it is on the quarterback. You have your options, and you got to hit them. But as an offensive coordinator, I guarantee you ask any offense, all 32 in this league, 32. If you have one play to scheme a guy open, can you do it? Everyone will say yes. So you can call a play. I'm telling you, you can call a play that gets Cole Kmet the ball if you really want to. I'm not saying he wasn't doing that. Some of the quarterback, Caleb Williams, has to take blame for this too, and we'll get to him in a second. But you have to make a point to, because when you go to the tight end, those are usually easy, simple 6 yards, 7 yards. Sometimes you get your 15, your 20, your big
But see,
plays.
those are the ones that we were needing today to kind of move the ball.
Get things going. Yep, and we didn't have those today, so I agree. That's a not so great, for sure. Um, for me, my great, if I'm gonna find a great in this game, shit. And like I said, I'm gonna start with not so great. I'll start with not so great because I don't have a great right now. Maybe it'll come to me before I get to it.
Well,
The
you brought up
defense.
a great when you messaged me,
What's up?
hitting
What was
two
that?
53-yard field goals. I mean, if you got to break, if that's the only thing that you commented on, that you were like, that was pretty dang great.
And I appreciate that because you saved me. So look, that'll be my great. That'll be my great for this game. Cairo Santos. Like I said, I don't remember the last time he did that. 250 plus, multiple. I'll just say multiple 50+ yard field goals in one game. We all know Cairo don't
And
got
not,
the leg.
not and the thing that I'm noticing, it's not just that he he hit 250 yard, that he hit all of his field goals that he was asked,
He was 100%.
including the two. Like, you could say like, oh, he hit multiple 50-yard field goals, but if two of them were 52 yards and then he missed like another couple of them that were like 54, 55,
Right.
then it wouldn't look so good. But hitting both of them and you didn't miss any, I guess that would be a great.
I'll take that. I'll take that as my great. I'll do Cairo Santos. You're right. I did bring that up. He was booming them today. And the ones that he made from 50, it looked like he could have probably hit them from 57, 58 if he, if he had to. Now we know his leg is that. Cairo does not have a big leg. That's not his thing. He's very accurate, very, very accurate. He's not a leg boomer. That's not what he does, but he was booming them today. So that's my great for the game. It's hard to find them, but we both found one. You helped me find that one. My not so great is the defense. That and the defense. The defense gave up the Hail Mary. The defense was responsible for that horrible play last week. I think that play lasted in the entire defense's head all week. especially the DBs. I think the defense just we've seen it a lot. They quit on the team. They quit on Flus. I won't say quit. I won't go that far until I got to see what they do in New England. Now, if New England comes in and they play horrible against Drake May and that offense, they definitely quit. They checked out, which is unfortunate because we still had a lot to play for in this season, Devin. And if they checked out, what I say in the chat. Well, first of all, this loss has huge consequences for this team. Our playoff
Mhm.
chances drop drastically after this loss. I said it in the group chat. Start preparing for the draft. Start looking at the draft now. That's how bad this loss was. If we were in an average division, it wouldn't be so bad. But our division is really fucking good. Really fucking good. You
And
can't
and
you
it's
can't be 4-4
we have all of our games in our division at this back end.
every single one.
And see, I'll admit I was thinking that was a positive when we were looking at the schedule in the off season, but looking
Mm-hmm.
at it now, it looks like a negative because I was looking at like we'd be coming in with 5, 6, maybe even 7 wins coming into this difficult stretch.
Mm-hmm.
Coming in with 4 wins, um, I don't know. I'd like for the team to be able to get back on track and at least be able to be competitive over the next few games, just to at least kind of remind themselves that they can beat their division. Because if we lose all the games in our division, it'll kind of like stick with them even next year, worrying about like, well, we couldn't beat them this year, what's going to change. Even if we do end up getting a new head coach or anything like that, it'll still be in the heads of all the players that are still on this team, because the players aren't bad. It's not like we're
Well,
sitting there with bad players.
it'll almost certainly be talked about next season, even if we have a new coach, because we just have look, see, and I don't even because Flu said he beat not Washington, he beat Minnesota last year. He beat Detroit last year. He
He
didn't beat
almost beat
Green
Detroit
Bay.
twice.
Yeah, he almost beat them twice. So I don't know how much that will affect next year. But look,
He beat the Commanders last year too, though. So,
we beat them down last year, and
eh, but see, they've changed a lot, whereas the rest of the our division really hasn't changed a ton.
look, I don't know what happened today, and I'll bring this back to my not so great. I don't know. Actually, I can't even say I don't know. I believe they let the Washington loss linger. It's very unprofessional to me, Devin. That shit is absolutely, and it pisses me off because I know that as a fan, me as a fan having to watch this, I can only imagine if I was a player and that shit happened to me last week. I'm not even talking about it no more. I'm trying to move on and put my best foot forward because you're only as good as your last game. You're only as good as your last game. I can't wait for Arizona to come in here or for us to go to Arizona so I can get that bad taste out of my mouth. You know what I mean?
Yep.
They it was too much talking going on. There was just entirely too much going on from the defensive side of the ball and offense too. But the defense, y'all have a standard that y'all trying to set in place. Me as a fan, I walk around and I tell everybody, we got the best defense. It's not statistical wise, but we got the best defense in the league. I thought that. I don't think so anymore. That was horrible to me. The Packers beat the dog shit out of Arizona. They beat them down. And
They did. I thought they just barely squeaked out a win.
not against Arizona. The Packers beat them down.
Oh, that might have been the Rams or something like that that they just barely squeaked out.
Yeah, no. Let me look real quick. Yeah, Packers Cardinals was 34-13. They beat him
Okay.
down, kind of how we got beat down today. So that was very just disgusting. And my boy Chef West in the chat, unpreparedness. Unpreparedness. They were unprepared out of the bye going into Washington, and they were unprepared after the Washington game going into to Arizona. But we suck on the road. Everybody like they bring up the 3-17 on the road. Now it's 3-18. And Devin, I know you brought it up in the chat when we talked about it. You didn't want to put that the 3-win rebuilding year against him, but
Well, but
I
see,
didn't.
until you start to change, I mean, like you're no longer in that rebuilding mode.
Mhm.
Like, and so I was looking at it, like trying to look at it from like just this year, but they struggled last year on the road too when we needed to win games in
Yes.
the end of the year to get out a playoff chance. And we couldn't win against the Browns last year with Joe Flacco as their quarterback.
Yep.
And not that I'm
Another
saying that Joe Flacco is not a good quarterback, because he has shown that even at his
he's a
advanced
veteran,
age,
Super Bowl winner.
he's pretty dang good, to
Mhm.
the point where he's even going to be starting tonight against the Vikings.
But we had
But
that game against the
we
Browns.
should have, yeah, we should have won that game. Like we had gotten probably about, like, I think like 3 or 4 turnovers in that game, a couple of fumbles, maybe a couple of interceptions. Like, we had that game. We should have easily been able to, like, we should have had 35, 40 points in that game, but we could not convert turnovers to points, and we were just struggling. We couldn't finish out that game. This game is way worse.
This game is. I said it in the chat. Texans didn't even do us. We said it earlier in the show, in the earlier segment. The Texans didn't even beat us down like this. Where there's only one reason I can come up with in chat. Let me know if you got another reason that we played this bad, and it was because you let one loss turn into two, and it's disgusting. it, it points to head coaching. It really does. And we're not going to listen to the press conference tonight like we normally do. But I can't wait to listen to what Caleb and Matt Eberflus had to say. And we ain't even talked about Caleb. And we're about to get into Caleb right now. Unless you got something else you want to add on to this segment in this conversation.
Nah, I think we're good. We went over the great and not so great. And as for this comment here, like, personally, I didn't feel like we had to sit Tyreek Stevenson. Like, to me, he didn't need to be sat, because from my perspective, that's high school stuff, maybe college. But when you're in the NFL, you put the best players out on the field. You don't sit a guy because he did something that he shouldn't have done.
Right.
If he is the best player, you put him out there. Now, if it
And
becomes repeated things, like if he continued to do stuff like that game
right.
after game, then you sit him. Like George Pickens, I believe, for the Steelers, he'd gotten himself into trouble before, and they sat him because he was not
Just
doing
doing
very
too
well.
much. Yeah, he was just
Yeah, he
doing too
was,
much. And
exactly.
so, and then to this comment, I agree with it. If you felt the need to bench Tyreek Stevenson, that's lingering. You know what I mean? Like if you're going to bench him because of what happened in that game, you're letting that game affect this game. Everybody wanted to say it's discipline. It's
Agreed.
discipline. It's discipline. I disagree. If you bench that kid, if you bench Tyreek Stevenson, you're letting what happened in that last, because it's not like Tyreek doesn't do that shit every game. He doesn't just do. Yes, he's fiery. He talks shit. He gets penalties after the play. He pokes his finger in people's face. So yada yada. That's who he is. Don't take that dog out of him. That's how I was as a player. I wasn't getting penalties. You know, I wasn't doing all that. But I was talking my shit. You know what I mean? I was getting him. You need guys like that. You can't just have nice guys on the football field. You need those too. But you need some dogs, some shit talkers, some gritty, some fighters on your team. You need them on the football field. Ask any football player, any NFL player, they'll tell you you need those guys who carry that edge. So, my opinion, if he was constantly having brain lapses like that, like against Washington on a game to game basis, then yeah, do something about it. But if you're talking about the penalties and the unsportsmanlike conducts, yes, that has to be stopped too. But you need guys like that. I'm vouching for him. You need guys like that. So that whole conversation to bench him was just stupid. Like you said, it's college, high school, work, and if you do it, if you commit to benching him in any way, shape, or form, which he only was benched for 2 series this game, I
Yeah.
think that you let that you're if you're gonna bench him, if you make that decision, I don't care if it's a whole game, 1 series or 2, you're letting Washington creep in.
Mm-hmm.
You're letting one play that is it's a very slim chance of it happening again. Not just the Bears, but any team. You're letting that dictate, and that's what happens. It just reeks of Washington this week, and it just sucks. It's a lot of comments coming in. I'm not even focusing on putting them up right now, but I'll get back to them. I'll get them up there. Let's talk about Caleb, Devin. Let's talk about our quarterback. We ain't talked about him yet. The Caleb Williams guy. You see the numbers at the bottom of your screen: 22 for 41, 216, 6 sacks, 0 touchdowns. Another bad one for Caleb. Another one where I felt like he started pretty. He looked comfortable when he started,
Yeah, he did.
and
We had
this
a
is
we
why.
had we had a penalty early on that kind of stifled one of the drives that we were going down, and that kind of took us out of. I think it was like even on like a second or third down where it took us pretty far back, and just I don't know. To me, it was not very fluid after that. Like even the next drive, you would think, okay, shake it off the last drive, march down, and things just seemed to not click. Like he was missing people that he normally would hit. And when he was hitting people, they weren't making the catches they normally would make.
Nope.
And I mean, 216 yards really isn't super bad, but the 6 sacks and 0 touchdowns, like he didn't throw an interception, but the 6 sacks, at least half of them were on him.
The thing I think
I put
they
the
were
other
bottom
half.
3. Go ahead. Keep going.
I would put the other half on the fact that there were just sometimes the offensive line just it felt like they stepped aside and just everybody just ran right into Caleb, because I just could not figure that part out. Like there were times when they were hiking the ball, he didn't even have time to get the ball even like cocked back at all to throw before they were on him. But then there were the times when he ran further back and then got sacked. The further back
Caleb
you run, the further back you run, the harder it is for your offensive line to adjust to those angles.
Caleb is starting to lose trust in this offensive line, and you can see it.
And
And
it was something I was thinking about during the game that I'm very concerned about going forward, is the fact that if things continue the way they are, we are going to get another Justin Fields. Somebody who doesn't trust their offensive line and has to run every time. Like, and even today, I noticed things that when he would get out on the side, he was still looking to throw most of the time.
yeah. Yep.
And I liked it. Like he got a few first downs by doing that. He found a Dunze a couple times. I think one of the times was Keenan Allen, but like, and his evasiveness is great. Like that one where they had him on the sideline and they nearly sacked him and he spun around.
He
The
spun
guy went
back in.
flying. The guy went flying into the sidelines and then he just ran back over to the middle. But like at that point, you got to worry about your offensive line too. Like there's a very high risk for a holding call in there, because they're running around and trying to figure out where you're going because you're not doing what was planned, and it's a problem.
I think look, that I'm glad you brought that play up because I almost forgot. That's a special play. That is special.
I mean, he didn't
And
make
guess
anything
what?
happen out of it because
Exactly. That's my
he,
thing.
he
There's
hit
still
Keenan
nobody getting
Allen,
open.
but see, he hit Keenan Allen right on the hands, I think, in that play. Like past the first down marker where he probably I mean, we got around, we got out of it, and they got free, but he just either he hit him on the hands or he just threw a little bit too far away. Either way, like after all that, nothing came of it. And I mean, I give credit to the offensive line on that play for not doing a holding call because it would have been very easy when you're getting yourself turned around because the quarterback's going from one side of the sideline all the way to the other practically. It'd be very easy to get a holding call. But I mean, I didn't like how I didn't even like how the refing was for the down the field like cornerbacks. They were just kind of letting them get away with a lot. Like Keenan Allen in the end zone getting his jersey pulled on, and in previous games I hear them say if you tug on the jersey, that's a automatic flag. They'll get you every time. Well, they apparently won't because it happened multiple times in this game, and it benefited Arizona more than I would say it benefited the Bears because they couldn't guard without pulling and tugging and stuff like that. They couldn't guard our receivers as well, but they were able to do that and get away with it. And we don't need to do that to guard their receivers.
No, but you have to, and they showed this in Hard Knocks. Remember, they introduced Caleb to all the refs. Not introduced, but they were showing
Mm-hmm.
him who the refs are in Hard Knocks. You got to know who your refing crew is, what you can do and what you can't do. And if you can be a little more physical, it's a physical game. So if you can be a little more, if you can hit them a little bit, and they're not gonna, you might as well do it. I'm not gonna fault them for that. But Caleb, what I think the Arizona sat in that zone and they blitzed them sometimes, and Caleb could not decipher. He was worried about his protection too much. He wasn't deciphering enough because he was so worried. Caleb, I think this game showed us because this opponent isn't scary by any means. I think he showed us how much of a work in progress he really still is. You know what I mean? Of course, he'll
Mm-hmm.
have some good games like we've seen, but he was missing dudes again. He's been missing dudes all season. He was, even when he sees it and he throws it, they weren't on the same page. He was still throwing it above them, above their head, behind them, and a bunch of just rattled stuff going on. Like I said, he looked like he started comfortable this game, but I don't know. He Caleb is not comfortable right now, and I'm tired of them letting him make checks and everything at the line of scrimmage. Is great, but you're doing it every play now. You're letting him go out there and
At that
decide what
point,
he
you're overthinking everything,
exactly,
and
and
I
just
kind of get
simplify
it.
it,
Like
man.
they they wanted to try and throw everything at him and see what he could handle, and it seemed for a while like he could handle all of it, but you get to the end and you face a team that kind of changes things up. Like they were talking about how the defensive coordinator needed to kind of maneuver and change some things up because they're a little banged up and they can't just do the same thing every time. Like they were kind
Right.
of throwing different looks at us. I don't see that from the Bears. Like the Bears pretty much are pretty stagnant in what they do usually. Like
Mm-hmm.
this is what we do. It doesn't matter who our opponent is, this is how we handle it. And it's like that's kind of an outdated thought process to me.
And see, that goes back to my point when I say I believe anybody, not anybody, you can find a guy to coach this defense because of situations like that. Yes, the defense is going to play well, so you're not going to switch anything. Do what you've been doing because it's been working. But when shit hit the fan and we need you to put your stamp on it and show us actually what you have instead of letting Jalen Johnson, Montez Sweat, and these other show us what you have now. Montez ain't playing. We don't got him now. Now it's your time to mitigate that loss, of Montez Sweat and show us the genius that the defensive genius that we think you are. And I didn't see it, man. I didn't see it today. That was oh man, but I want to stay on Caleb Williams. I do want to stay on Caleb. Like you said, half the sacks were on him. He was dancing a lot back there.
And there were a few times when I felt like he should have thrown it. There were check downs that he could have gone.
And there were check downs he missed.
He was trying to play hero ball, and I understand it. I understand the thought process, but running that quick up tempo offense, hitting your check downs, getting up there, keep going, and catching the defense off guard. That seems to have been what worked for him. That's what worked for him in the past, and it wasn't. To me, it was not there. Like, I don't know if that was the play calling was wrong. Like, they weren't planning to just go out there and play up tempo. Like, you should just look at what has worked and try to replicate that instead of trying new things. At this point in his career, you can't just keep trying new things.
No, you gotta find what you do best and keep doing it. And like they did us, dude, we were on the 1 yard line last week. We got so bored that we wanted to give the ball to our offensive lineman, Doug Kramer. They didn't do shit like that. They said, fuck it. Look, if Connor is going to run, let Connor run. Swift has been running the last 3 or 4 weeks, but we want to keep switching it up and doing weird stuff. No, just let Swift keep doing it. They didn't do that to us this week.
Or go to Roshan.
Roshan.
Instead of going with what we've been doing that worked, they keep trying to change it up.
Okay, let me address this real quick, because this statement right here, how dare you watch what that defense put out there today and say that? I can understand in any other game, Devin, I can understand this comment. I'm a defensive player. I know what it's like. But this tonight, from the fucking first snap from Kyler Murray, that defense got beat down. They got moved. It wasn't even passing game.
As soon as they started running the ball,
yes,
the defense just couldn't stop it.
Yes, and I appreciate you jumping in the chat, Patrick, but this comment, you put it in all caps for a reason, so I'm sure you're trying to get your point across. But if you watch the same defense I watched tonight, they struggled big time. Big time. Don't hold their hand. Do not hold their hand at all. That's the heart and soul of our team. And they play one of the weaker teams on our schedule. And they laid down and got ran all over. So we played Jonathan Taylor this year. Remember that? We played Joe Mixon got hurt. But we played Jonathan Taylor, and I don't think that team had 200 rushing yards as a unit. So I don't get that one. But West, 40 passes. Yes, 40 passes. We were down. We were down a lot. You got to pass the ball. It's not like Indiana, the Indianapolis Colts game where we threw it 51, 52 times, and we were within a touchdown. I think we were. So I'm not mad at the 50 passes as much, or the 40 passes this week. I mean, you had to. We were down.
I will say, kind of like, so since we're still kind of talking about Caleb Williams, the whole thing that we were kind of talking about beforehand.
Yeah.
That we were mentioning about the fact that they shouldn't have even had him in the last few minutes of the game. That end of the game, Caleb gets a little banged up and goes and does another play. And in that play, gets hit again. And you could see him kind of limping back to like the reason that he wasn't as mobile in the last play is because of how banged up he was. And we should have just gotten him out, put in whoever we. At this point, I don't care if it's Bajan or Austin Reed or whoever. You just throw somebody back there just to
Yeah.
kneel and then get out of the game. You don't need him in
Man.
there.
Caleb is going to ask for a trade. Oh, I love Bears fans. They're crazy. Look, let's grade Caleb Williams. Let's give him a grade on his performance. And continue on. Um I think I gave him a D plus last week, and I gave him a plus just because of the fourth quarter. This, in my opinion, I don't care about the numbers. This was an F. This was an absolute F, just because of the optics and what went down. Like I said, I don't care about the numbers or any of that, but this was an F to me. What you get? What? Yes. Oh my God, Trey. Hey, look, Trey. I didn't think of it like that, but you might be on to something. That dude, that West dude, is going to the games and costing us games single handedly. Look, West, chill.
Single
You
handedly.
gotta chill, bro. You really gotta chill. I'm
I
going
mean,
F. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I don't want to get on West too much, but
Get on him. He
back
costing us
back in
games.
the day, I went to some Chicago Wolves games. The ice hockey team. It was like the league below the Blackhawks,
Mm-hmm.
and so I went to a few of those games at the Allstate Arena. I have a aunt and uncle who are season ticket holders, so I go with them sometimes. And every single Wolves game that I went to, the Wolves won. Like every single one. And so probably by like the fourth time, and this is like the fourth time in like 3 or 4 years that I went to a game. And I was commenting on it to my aunt, and she was like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "Well, every game I've been to, I've seen them win." And then they won again. And she commented about like the like good luck charm, and it's like unfortunately it 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 makes people think.
Well, we need
But
one in Chicago. And West, you ain't it. You is not it. So I need you to stay at home from here on out. Do the show after, and let's talk about some wins. Cause golly, as soon as you start going to these games, we just lose, lose, lose. I hope you ain't going to the New England game. Please tell me you ain't going to New England game. He said, "Yeah, I'm
I'm
tired too."
but I'm gonna go ahead and I'll give D minus. I
We
mean
love you, Wes.
the 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 minor positive that I saw is the fact that like 216 yards. If you're looking at yardage and statistics, 216 is not a bad game. It's bad in the sense of you didn't get a single touchdown, but you didn't throw an interception. So I'm gonna just I'm sure that I'm being way too nice in this situation.
Not
I'm
really. Like
giving
you
a
said,
D
he didn't turn the
minus.
ball over. I'm just
And
pissed
I
off.
mean,
That's
but
all.
see, at this point, if he had turned the ball over, there's not much lower you can go.
True.
Like he played, he overthrew people, and now I won't say all of those misses are on him though. Like his completion percentage isn't 100% on him. There was the one to Rome Madunze where it hit him right. It was on the sideline, hit him right in the hands. He didn't catch the ball, and there are definitely some things that the rest of the offense can improve upon. But we also have the whole situation of the play calling seemed to be way off. Like we we didn't start using Swift until the end of the game as a receiver.
Right.
Like, and we were doing little dump off passes, but they were working. And the same thing was going like I just I don't know. Like it was rough to watch, and it seemed like there were definitely things that we could have done a lot better on.
Like Patrick said, I disagree with you earlier, but you hit it right on the head. We missed a bunch of check downs. Caleb missed a bunch of check downs. He was big game hunting all too much today. I just didn't like it. I said it when we were talking about when the first preseason games were starting. I don't want to see the I don't want, but I don't need to see the heroics. I don't need to see 50 yard. I don't need to see that. I want to see the
50
boom,
yard
5
bombs.
yards,
See, the
6
problem is we don't
yards,
have
4.
an offensive line to get 50-yard bombs.
No, no, we don't.
So you have to work within the team that you have. And you're not going to get the 50-yard bombs because this is the NFL. And we don't have an offensive line that is top of the NFL.
No. Oh my gosh, no. And West is saying once again, no commit. I agree with you, no commit. And I wish we had more time to elaborate on or discuss what the fuck is going on with the commit situation. Why is he getting 10 catches and then you don't see him again for the next 2 or 3 games? But we just don't got the time for that. So I'm going F, you're going D.
I think West was a D minus as well there.
West put his D minus. Yeah, I see some D minuses. I seen a C. I think this is the highest one right here from Trey Santiago. C minus. That's generous. Look, more power to you. I didn't see that out there from Caleb. He didn't even give us the fourth quarter heroics, the garbage time heroics that you usually see. He didn't give us that. It was just bad. It was bad, just bad. So our guy Judah's in the chat. Appreciate you jumping back in here with all the bullshit you gonna bring. But look,
We about to wrap it up. So
yeah, I was just about to say that. Unfortunately, like I said, this is gonna be a shorter show than normal. I do gotta get going. I gotta go continue to celebrate the lady's birthday, 28th birthday. So everybody wish her a happy birthday.
happy birthday.
I'm gonna be I'm gonna be sitting at this dinner table, very
Disappointed and
disappointed and pissed. She gonna try to get me in, get me going a little bit, but it ain't gonna work. It ain't gonna work. So Devin, any last words you want to say before we get up out of here? Like I said, we normally go longer. We normally discuss some top performers, some receivers, some running backs, and all of that stuff. Give out some grades. Not today, not tonight, and it's kind of good. We don't got to really talk about those numbers. There wasn't really much
yeah.
going on. You can see him at the bottom of the screen. Roma Dunze, he had another 100-yard performance though. So, but Devin, you got any last words you want to say before we bounce?
Just I understand this game was bad, but let's move on, and this time let's actually move on to the Patriots. And I mean, we playing at home, so we should be a lot better. We have that home game win streak or whatever, but like we seem to play better at home. And I mean, they got to figure out something about winning these away games, because let's be
Definitely.
honest, you can't win in the NFL unless you win away. Like
You know who
winning at
Judah might
home
be?
needs to be your thing.
I don't mean to cut you off. You know who Judah might be? That might be Al. Did we talk about that? Might be Al because he texted me again today and blocked me right after. So that might might be Al. Like he texts me and then blocks me before I can even respond to him, which is weird to me. But look, that might be Al. Yeah, Bears fans. That is
Let's
yeah, I
just
know.
focus on next week for the Patriots. Drake May is turning out to be not such a bad quarterback out
Of
there for
course
them.
not. I don't think any of these three well, you want to put Bo Nix in there too. I don't think any of them are bad.
I mean,
I think
and see, I'm kind of still curious about what we're gonna see next year with the
Mm-hmm.
Vikings, because I mean
Mm-hmm.
Sam Darnold's playing fairly decently for them right now. They may decide to stick it out with him, but we still have JJ McCarthy up there, so who knows? It should be interesting for the next few years to kind of see how things play out for this quarterback class.
And normally we'd have more time to discuss all of that and break all that down, but not today. So look, appreciate y'all tuning in to the Black Bear Podcast. I'm your host, Mark Robb, with my co-host Devin. And Chef Wes is in the chat. That's our third co-host. He's in the chat, chopping it up with us. So look, we'll see y'all next week, Saturday, and then Sunday as well for the post-game show. Look, we got to sit on this L. You got to sit on them. You gotta show up and you got to take it on the chin. It happens. It's football. This ain't the first time we've been Bears fans. This ain't gonna be the last season that we're Bears fans. So look, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. If you're watching on Facebook, just take the time and go over to YouTube and give us a like and a subscribe there. We love you too, Wes. We love you too. Can't wait to get you back on camera and chopping it up, because I know you can't wait to actually
He
voice.
ain't going back to that. He ain't coming for this Patriots game. I'm gonna be
Oh,
at
I hope
O'Hare, and
not.
I'm gonna be stopping.
Tell us that to stay home. Look, we out. Y'all enjoy the rest of y'all Sunday. Enjoy Sunday night football as well. We gone. Peace.